And finally, prosecutors discussed how they wanted the judge to not allow defense attorneys to call Huber, Rosenbaum, and Grosskreutz the words arsonists, looters, and rioters. Here's what the judge had to say.
And it is. You tell me that if you in final argument said to the jury, Kyle Rittenhouse is a cold-blooded killer, that would be, you don't think that you'd be allowed to do that?
I think I should be. I think I should be allowed to call people a victim too.
Why can't he call the victim an arsonist if that's what he thinks he can prove?
The main thing that a lot of people are talking about is just the fact that he doesn't want the people who were shot and killed by Kyle Rittenhouse to be called victims, but also, as you heard in that clip, will allow them to be called arsonists, looters, and rioters if the prosecution can prove that's what they are. He says if that's what they are, then we should call them that, but we can't call them victims.
Makes sense. You should be able to call them that if you could prove it. Why not? But if you could prove that they were victims, well, they should be able to call them victims. You know, when I seen this, all I said to myself was, how about we just call them human?
See, what they want is they want to be able to use a loaded word when they're giving their final arguments, right? So obviously one side is going to fight for one thing, one side is going to fight for the other. My confusion comes from if they are rioters, looters, arsonists, can they not still be victims as well? Or do the two have to be mutually exclusive?
I think so.
Why?
Because if you try to break into my house to cause harm to me and I shoot you, you're not a victim. I was the potential victim of your break-in. You are not a victim if you are trying to break into my home to cause me harm. If I shoot you, I don't even have to kill you. You are not a victim. You are a casualty of whatever that is called. You are not a victim.
So then pretty much what you're saying is those are pretty much loaded words. Both sides, no matter which way you put it, you're going to be able to look at somebody a different way, which is why they can't just use the word human. You know what I mean? They got to find something that they can use to evoke some kind of emotion in people.
I don't think that they should be able to use either words. They shouldn't be able to call them arsonists, looters, rioters, unless proven. And they shouldn't be able to call them victims unless they prove that they were victims. It's the whole point of the trial. Right. What are we talking about here? To your point, they're just trying to evoke emotion. You know, the news reporter said that this trial has divided the country because everybody has an opinion, yet and still nobody's graduated law school, but they got an opinion because they're emotional about it, right? We have an opinion because we're emotional about it, and certain words trigger emotion. So, and please just correct me if I'm wrong. We just watched the clip for the first time, but did the judge say that during the trial they can call them rioters, arsonists, and looters, or they can only use that if they prove it?
Well, the judge was saying pretty much at the end of it that they were allowed to call them that, but they were not allowed to call them victims.
So again, I lean back on what I said earlier. The law has some gray area, and based on the color you are, it could be manipulated and adjusted in your favor. Why is it that you can call these people XYZ, but you can't call them ABC? That doesn't make sense.
Man, it's the trials are supposed to be non-biased. They're supposed to be as neutral and fair for both sides as possible. This is the same thing as when you're reading a newspaper article and you see somebody who commits a crime and they're described as the thug, as the vigilante, as that type of person, versus as when you're reading a newspaper article and they describe the person's history of, oh, he was athlete of the year at his high school and da. It always has something to do with the person's color in our society. And I hate to keep bringing it back to that color all the time, but I mean, shit, you can't put it any other way. By being able to call these guys looters, arsonists, and all those things, by giving those terms out and putting that forward multiple times, it's going to make it hard for me, thinking if I'm a juror, to not be able to categorize them as criminals and categorize them as negative. Within these gray areas, there are things that they have in place that will allow citizens to become judge, jury, and executioner in certain situations if it's deemed necessary. There's plenty of laws where that's allowed.
Yeah, like the one I just gave you. If somebody comes into my home.
Right. And just like I said, all the things that I just said too, those are also things where you can be a normal citizen somewhere else and be judge and jury if it's deemed appropriate. Now, if I'm the prosecution and I see this door open, I'm just thinking from a legal standpoint. If I'm the prosecution and I see this door open, I'm gonna bust that door down. I'm about to run through that bitch. That's all I'm saying. The defense has no way to stop these guys, and it's just because of those words. That's crazy how words can influence an entire case, and how something so small can be so large. But this is what is happening, and the case hasn't even begun. People are going to ignore the actual reason as to why they were there.
Well,
it's going to be hard to look at that when you just call them those things.
I don't think nobody, you know what, whatever. Viewing public, I want to know what your thoughts are. Leave it in the comments.
This is not us I'm talking about. This is not our minds I'm talking about.
I'm not saying that it's our minds.
Okay.
I'm just saying that nobody even talks about the real reason why that whole riot and everything was going on. That's gone already. Leave it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Media knows how to manipulate, shift, shape, all that. Even we're doing it. I mean, I don't think we're trying to, but we're trying to sway your opinion. I'm not intentionally trying to do it. I'd love it if you agree with me, but if you don't, that's okay too. All right, deuces.
Yo, thanks for watching that video, making it all the way to the end. You made it this far, you have to like. Please subscribe and comment on the video as well. Join the conversation.
Absolutely. We finally hit our goal of 500 subscribers. Yes, we are trying to get to 1,000, and we can only do that with your help. You can start by watching that next video. You see that tiny little icon? Click on that icon, rinse and repeat. Deuces.
Deuce.